With the WWE bringing back the Raw and SmackDown brand split, and with the new WWE draft set to take place, I wanted to take a quick look back at the WWE draft in video games. In March of 2002, the then World Wrestling Federation was set to be shaken by the first ever brand split. In storyline, Vince McMahon only owned half of the WWE, while Ric Flair owned the other 50%. Flair took control of Raw, Vince took control of SmackDown, and on the March 25th episode of Monday Night Raw, a draft was held to split the roster between two brands. On Halloween in 2002, the first video game to include the WWE draft was released. The game was WWE SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, and was the fourth installment in the SmackDown game series. In a matter of 7 months, THQ and Yuke's developed a season mode that would start off with the first draft. You could take control of either Mr. McMahon or Ric Flair and draft for their respective brand, or decide to skip it altogether and just put together the rosters you desire. I always had a lot of fun running through this draft segment and would often restart season mode just to play the draft. There were even storylines that played out from real life if you had the correct superstars on the right brand. Eventually the rosters came together once you got far enough into the mode, but it was a hell of a start. The following year, the much beloved SmackDown Here Comes the Pain was released. Like Shut Your Mouth, Here Comes the Pain offered a great branching season mode. While there was no draft in this version, you could mix around the rosters at the start of the mode, sans champions, and you could even change if a wrestler was a good dude or a bad guy. Plus, Here Comes the Pain is legendary, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. In 2004, THQ released WWE SmackDown vs. Raw. This would be the name the series would use for a long while, but SmackDown vs. Raw was not a great game at all, and didn't feature any sort of draft. Luckily, THQ was able to redeem themselves in 2005 with SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, featuring a brand new mode called General Manager Mode, or GM Mode for short. GM Mode allowed you to select a brand between Raw and SmackDown, or if you had two controllers in, both, and tasked you with running all the daily operations of your brand. Contracts, injuries, storylines, trades, ratings, brand invasions, and more. GM Mode was like a franchise mode from any other sports game, and while it had its definite downfalls, it was fun to play. But back to the draft. To start this mode out, you can either roll with the default rosters, or you can start fresh with a draft. You were able to select up to 20 wrestlers, offering them contracts as soon as you picked them. Of course, you only had a limited amount of money, so you had to strategize as to how much and how long you wanted to keep the more expensive stars compared to the cheaper stars who might stay longer for the same money but won't do great for your ratings. The draft was also represented every year after WrestleMania. Vince McMahon would set up a tournament between the two brands, and the winner of the tournament was able to franchise tag one of the members on their roster so that they couldn't be randomly selected to the other brand during the draft lottery. Also, if you managed to win the General Manager of the Year award by ending the year with the highest ratings, you were able to use your last draft pick and manually pick the wrestler from the opposing brand. This would more or less be the same in SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. GM Mode would be completely scrapped after SVR 2008, and would never return, at least not at the time of this video. In SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, THQ introduced Universe Mode, a booking sandbox for users to play around with. It was sort of like GM Mode without any of the difficulties of contracts or trades, that sort of thing, but it lacked any semblance of a draft. The following year, a draft lottery system would be worked into the newly branded WWE 12. Both Raw and SmackDown, or whatever brands you edited them to be, would have matches where members of each brand would square off with each other. The winner won a draft pick for their brand, and the pick would be selected at random. I was never a big fan of the draft lottery as it made some pretty lackluster moments, but there were occasionally some exciting picks. This lasted until WWE 2K16. While Universe Mode is still around, the draft was omitted, which is funny because the year they decided to finally get rid of it was followed by the WWE actually bringing the draft back. So will we see the draft pop back up in WWE 2K17? I sure hope so. I'd really like to see a GM mode put back into the game, and it seems like this year would be the perfect year to do so. Although, if 2K wasn't already working on GM mode, I doubt 2 months of development would be nearly enough time for them to get it done. Well, that's my look at the WWE Draft in WWE video games. I hope you're excited for the WWE Draft, and if you are, give this vid a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel for more coverage of wrestling games past, present, and future.